from St. George here in Tampa. Abuna Joshua has been serving here since October of 2016. In addition to his priesthood and his theological expertise, Abuna Joshua also holds a master's degree in pastoral counseling. He's a certified life coach and a mental health coach. And today he'll be talking to us about parenting mistakes that lead to misbehaving children. So please join me in welcoming Abuna Joshua.
Thank you so much, Mina. Can we guys start with prayer? God, hear us, I pray thankfully, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, if we trespass against us. Lead us in temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. Christ Jesus, O Lord, for thine the kingdom and power, glory forever. Amen. In the name of the Father, and Son, and the Holy Spirit, from God. Amen. Okay, guys. Today's topic is parenting mistakes that can lead to misbehaving children. We often wonder why our children misbehave. In reality, the root of the problem sometimes lies with the parents. So our goal tonight is to highlight some common parenting behaviors that may unknowingly influence our children's behavior. And many parents may not realize that their actions, habits, or parenting style can have a significant impact on how their children behave. However, we will not be able to stop kids from 100% from misbehaving, okay? This is their nature. But we'll discuss how we can effectively prevent or reduce or respond to misbehaviors in the best possible way. Okay? So, let me see, adjust this one here. So, understanding the reasons of misbehaving will help me to do what? How is that going to help me as a parent? It will help me that my reaction will be more thoughtful and appropriate. And instead of responding impulsively with frustration or anger, I will approach the situation with patience and understanding that will allow me to manage my emotions better and create a more effective response when my kids misbehave. The second point is I will set a positive example for my children to follow. When I handle misbehaviors with wisdom and patience and empathy, I will demonstrate the kind of maturity and composure that I want my children to learn from me. And we know that kids copy their parents. So if the parents are screaming, my kids will be screaming. If the parents are calm, the kids will imitate that as well. So that's what we're gonna get from learning the reasons, and it will help me a lot to how to react and how to set a positive example for my children. Okay, so why does my child behaving this way? There are general needs that my children have or need versus parents' common mistakes. And if the needs are not fulfilled appropriately, we find them misbehaving here from the children. And I'm sure the examples we mentioned, it will be applied. Most of us will experience that, some of these examples. So number one, need for safety. The family is the safest place for any child. The family serves as like the child's only refuge. Most of the time, in some cases, it's the only safe place they have. So what common mistakes that undermine the child's sense of security or safety? Number one, parents fighting or conflicts in front of their children, or their kids. Constant arguments between parents can disrupt child's sense of safety and security. There are studies that show that children as young as 6 months, are significantly affected by witnessing parents' conflicts. When children see their parents arguing, especially with shouting or insults or some aggression, it deeply impacts their emotional well-being. Some children even report being used as witnesses against one parent during fights. Like one of the parents would use the children to witness or to be the one judging which one is wrong. Another mistake here can happen from parents that can threaten the need for safety is threatening children with punishments and use extreme or exaggerated words. when we threaten them. So here that the parents may threaten, or one big example here, the spouses threaten each other with separation or divorce. That can have a big impact on the children. And the worst threat here is a physical punishment. Using physical punishment such as spanking or pinching or hitting with objects, that instills fear rather than discipline. Don't be surprised because some parents do that in reality here in the States. Not just not That's not an Egyptian culture thingy. It happens here. Also, another mistake parents may do without knowing, a lot of parents fall into this one, exposure to violent media. So sometimes parents are watching violent movies or highly dramatic, scary TV shows in front of their children. That can negatively affect them. Young children are unable to distinguish between reality and acting. So watching violence on television can make children feel that the world is a dangerous and frightening place. So here we see safety is being threatened in their mind by these things: the conflicts, the threatening, the physical punishment, or the violent media. Well, how that gonna impact my children when they witness these things? Number one, constant fear and anxiety. Continuous conflicts between parents in front of their children make children feel insecure and unstable. They constantly worry about the possibility of separation. Fear, emotional distress may lead to behavior issues such as stealing. I remember one of the bishops one time told us a story that there was an elementary school boy, a young kid, who was stealing money from his friends at school, even though his family was well off. But when the parents asked the bishop to speak with him, the boy told the bishop that he overheard his father saying they were going to get divorced, telling the wife. So the kid, being worried how they would have money in the future, he started stealing to save up for this. Like how dangerous the threatening, whether between spouses, without feeling the children are listening, can impact their children. Another point, involuntary urination here. Even after being potty trained, some children may revert to involuntary urination due to stress that can have a big impact on their children as well. Nightmares, frequent crying can be a sign of emotional distress because of the conflicts at home. Academic performance may decline. Children struggle to focus. They're always preoccupied with the fightings at home. Even at school, they keep thinking about these things that happening at home. And that, of course, can disturb them, their emotions, and at a young age. Another point, we said poor academics, anxiety and depression. Sometimes it can cause severe psychological distress that will result because of the exposure to parental anger or conflicts. Emotional distress may lead to nail biting, thumb sucking. Um, when some of kids start sucking their thumbs, hair pulling. I've seen kids, they're pulling their facial hairs, their eyebrows hairs, um, because of the distress, because of a lot of anxiety happening at home. Um, that can cause a lot of problems to the kids. So here we see, do not focus on why my kids are doing bad at school, and or why they're sucking their nails, or why they're biting their fingers, or whatever there is. There are maybe a root cause, something deeper here. My children are, there's something causing this. Okay. And I will, of course, after I finish the needs, I will address each one. What can we do
Perfect.
about
I'm glad it's being recorded.
it? Okay. Um,
Oh, yeah.
okay. Second one, another point here, when the need for safety being threatened for our children, we find increased aggression and violence. We find children exposed to domestic conflict may exhibit violent behavior towards others. They may struggle to communicate effectively with friends and teachers. As they grow older, they may become more aggressive and have difficulty maintaining healthy relationships at school or at church. That's one of the signs. That's why they misbehave. It's not because they are being violent in themselves. No, there is something here, a root cause. Another one, substance abuse. It can lead to addiction here. Adolescents, when they reach adolescence age or college age, they may turn to drugs as a mean to escape or to cope with the stress at home. So the tension and instability at home increase the vulnerability to addiction here. So it's not just something happens in all the families and it's okay to fight, and no, they have impact on our children. And they get that distorted view on marriage and relationship. So a child raised in a household with frequent conflicts between the parents that may develop a negative perception of marriage. You find when they grow up, you find the boys may imitate their father's behaviors, maybe treating their future wives in the same way they saw their mothers being treated if there's some insult or disrespect in the house. You find the girls maybe who witness domestic violence may accept abuse from their husbands, believing it's normal because they have seen their mom accepting that, and no problem with that. So here we see some misbehaviors, but the root cause of these misbehaviors is the problem with the need for safety was threatened here, growing up or during childhood stages, because of the conflicts and the threatening happening at home. The second need for children, need for love. You know, there are different types of parenting. There is the authoritative, the authoritarian, and there's the permissive, and there's the unloved. We talked about this before, so I'm not going to repeat ourselves again. We mentioned that one time. So the need for love. Mis what mistakes parents may do for that need for our children, for their children. Mistakes here, lack of love. First one. You find some parents are emotionally distant from their children. Some parents are physically present but emotionally absent. This can happen when they are too busy with work, responsibilities, or personal concerns to engage with their child. They don't express affection, such as hugging or praising or spending quality time with their child. And you find conversations are limited between the parents and the child, only limited to instructions or corrections, and there is no meaningful emotional bonding here. In some families, we see that the father takes on a strict authoritarian role here, believing that showing emotions or affection makes the child weak. Of course, this is all false. So that's mistake parents may do to their children, lack of love. The second one, I call it the conditional love, which is a very common one in parenting, which is a big problem. Conditional love is when a child's worth and affection they receive from the parents based on their behavior or their achievements or obedience. And instead of feeling inherently loved. So here we find love is given based on certain actions or achievements. I love you because you did your homework. I love you because you went to church with me. If the child does not meet expectations, love is withdrawn. You find the parents ignoring their children or refuse to talk to them. This approach teaches the children that love must be earned rather than being unconditional, which a very common way that parents think the parents do to teach their children a lesson by withdrawing their love from them. So here the child will get the wrong idea that I need to do something to be loved. Okay, we will talk about how to handle this towards the end. Another point for need for love, another mistake parents may do. So the first one, lack of love. Second one, conditional love. Third one, wrong ways of expressing love. That can be here parents becoming too loose with their children. Some parents believe that letting a child do whatever they want is a sign of love and acceptance. They allow their child to make all the decisions, and like they are afraid of saying no. And here you can see a lot of misbehaving because the children, the parents here are encouraging this. They have no boundaries for the children. They're afraid that their child may feel unloved if they say no or put boundaries. The second one under this one, the wrong way of expressing love, overprotecting or helicopter parents. Parents treat their child as they are incapable of handling responsibilities. They clean up after them. They do their homework for them, and even complete their school projects to ensure high grades. They go to extreme length to prevent their child from facing failure, even if it means breaking rules. Sometimes we see that at church. Parents may seek to always have exceptions for their kids. When they arrive late for liturgy, when they want them to dress deacons, but as the time passed for that, they ask for exceptions, and they get upset if we didn't give exceptions. So here, there's no consequence. So this type of parents, they may become hypersensitive to criticism about their child. And the parents here may attack anyone who speaks negatively about their son or daughter. They always see their child as a victim and make excuses for their mistakes. And they may even discredit other people to defend their child. How that can impact my children. Let's see. So the results are loss of self-worth. When a child grows up feeling that love must be earned rather than freely given, it can lead to serious emotional and behavioral consequences. The child loses confidence in himself or herself and feels that their personality is not worthy of love. I gotta do something to be loved. They believe that love and reassurance are only given when they meet their parents' expectations. So here, low self-esteem or loss of self-worth. Second one, when a child who lacks love at home, when they grow up a little bit, they search for love externally, outside the house, often in an unhealthy way. You find for girls here, teen girls, when they become at the age of adolescence, they may seek attention and validation from any boy, even if that boy is untrustworthy. You find beautiful, smart, well-educated girls here, but fell in love with any random boy who expresses love because that girl was hungry for love that should have gotten it from her father, but she did not. And here, easily to fall into relationships. For boys, you may find when they reach adolescence, they may join bad groups because they feel accepted and loved. These groups, they show him love unconditionally that he did not receive at home. And because of this feeling being accepted the way he is, it makes him very happy to join any type of groups, even if it can be sinful or bad, wrong crowd here. He is joining. Another result for lack of love, it can be risk of homosexuality. Lack of love and affection from the same gender parent is one of the factors that can contribute to emotional confusion about identity here. And if a child consistently experiences withdrawal in love from the same gender parent, they may seek love in unhealthy ways to fulfill this need for love from the same gender people. And of course, when they get to high school or college becomes more available for them, especially what's happening now, and it will lead to that. Because what? Because they were lacking the same gender love. It's growing up from their parents. Another thing can result from the lack of the need for love from the parents. You will find the child becomes submissive. Here, when love is given only as a reward, the child feels that their worth depends on pleasing others. So they become submissive. Here, become overly obedient and compliant because the child here believes that he or she must always follow others' demands to earn love and approval. So they makes them vulnerable to peer pressure, including engaging in harmful activities, again, like drugs use or feel accepted. So you see, lack of love here, when we talk about love, the lack of love, or there is a no love or conditional love, that can have a big impact on our children, and that's why they behave in this way. How about what are the results of the children who their parents showing love in a wrong way? They are showing love, those parents, but in a wrong, like you said, the two loose parents, or the parents are overprotecting, like the helicopter parents. Can that have an impact? Of course. So when parents who misunderstand love may express it in unhealthy ways, that also will lead long-term negative effects on their children. The two major mistakes here in parenting here, you find those who are loose, what happens, you'll find here the child becomes spoiled because he or she is given everything he wants or she wants, leading them to believe they are in control. They feel that no one can say no to them and that they are above rules and authority. They expect to get what they want regardless of anything, even if it belongs to someone else. And this entitlement can extend to both material things and relationships. If there's a spoiled kid learned or grown up getting everything he wants or she wants, and there is no boundaries, there is no rules because the parents were trying to show love, but unwise in an unwise way, that can lead a lot of problems in the future for their children. How about those who are overprotecting parents? You find them, their kids become dependent, and they have lack of personal identity here. The child does not learn how to handle challenges growing up, or failures, or difficult situations. They become fully reliant on others, or their parents, or their spouses, lacking the ability to make decisions or function independently. So here we see, not, of course, lack of love can have an impact. Too much love with no was lack of wisdom can also have an impact here. The third need, again, we will address how to do that in the right way at the end. The need to feel valued. Children need to feel valued and recognized for their efforts and achievement. We're still gonna do that. However, some parent make a mistake, they undermine a child's confidence and motivation here, leading to feelings of inadequacy, unhealthy pressure to succeed. So what mistakes they do? They put unrealistic expectations, perfectionism here. Some parents are perfectionists who expect their children to excel in everything. Others who may have struggled with success, some parents, they may have struggled with success growing up, they themselves, in their own lives. So they push their children to achieve what they failed to achieve. So here, unrealistic expectations, not based on their kids' abilities, but on what they wanted for their kids. Or constant comparisons. So instead of celebrating the success of my children, I compare them. What about your friends? What about your cousins or relatives who are in the same grade or in the same level or in the same team? This comparison, a child may be excited about sharing that he or she got a certain score in a certain exam. But when he comes and tells the parents, the first response, what did so and so do? What was the average in the class? Why couldn't I score more? And here that diminishes the joy of the child, lowering the self-worth here, because always thinking about what others did, comparing that. Or belittling, focusing on negatives. Some parents constantly highlights flaws in their children instead of progress. You got a B, why couldn't get an A? You cleaned your room, but you forgot something on the side, one of the toys. So here, only focusing on the negatives, what they missed, what they missed, what they have missed, not what they achieved. So many parents justify criticism here and blame as a form of love and discipline, as if this is going to encourage them to become better people. Of course, this is This is completely false. We're gonna find out how to do the right way. Name calling or insults, guys, this is happening. It happens here in the States, happens in all cultures. Some parents use like nicknames or they think it's like harmless or humorous, like it's a joke. But these words can deeply affect the child's self-esteem. So we see the name calling and all of these things can impact the need to be valued. That's a need, and we diminish that. And we have blaming without understanding. There are some parents who jump into conclusion, assuming their child is guilty before knowing the truth. For example, if there are two kids here, two childrens, and the younger sibling is crying, a young infant, you must have annoyed your brother. That's the parent's first impression. Or a sister falls from a chair. Did you push your sister? And here, always thinking the older one did something wrong, or one of them did something wrong to the other. That leads to frustration and resentment towards their parents and their siblings. And they feel a sense of injustice and here, the children. And there are people who are the opposite of this. Like there is the opposite of love. There is who lack love and no love, and there's too much love. Even for this third need to feel valued, some people do the mistakes like this, but some people are overly praising their children's, given a false image. So here, over praising of things that not true. That's what we're talking about here. That's a mistake. But of course, to praise your children is great. It's an amazing thing to do. We're going to talk about this. But to overly praise for false things, that makes the children have wrong perception of themselves. For example, a child is failing in school, but the mom is telling her friends or her parents, no, he's the top of the class, or something like that. That creates unrealistic expectations here, causing the child to feel either pressured or detached from reality here. There's something missing. So these are the mistakes for the third need. What can that lead to? And our children, what kind of misbehavior will result from this? You find long-term psychological effect here. Studies show that name calling can alter a child's brain structure. Can you imagine this? Just name calling kids at a young age. Can it change their brain structure? And of course, it can distance the child from both parents here, creating emotional barrier. And it can break the communication, making it harder for the child to express their feelings when there's always criticism from the parents. And hurtful words can be remembered for years. The kids can remember those words that maybe you yourself as a parent, you would remember things happened to you in childhood from your parents. And it can continue to affect their self-worth. Another misbehaving can happen feeling like a failure. The child internalizes failure and believes they are incapable of success. They cannot. They will stop trying because they expect to fail all the time. They expect a negative identity, believing there is no hope for improvement. We find also developing excessive guilt. So those children being blamed a lot from their parents. They blame themselves for everything, even things beyond their control. They become overly apologetic, feeling guilty even for normal situations. For example, if they suggest growing up, suggest something, going out, for example, on a day, with a family outing, and if it start rain, that child will apologize for choosing will feel guilty and blaming himself or herself. Again, here problems here happen because of the continuous blaming from the parents. We find also destroying self-image. So constant criticism from parents crushes a child's self-worth. They grow up seeing themselves as unworthy, leading to a low self-esteem and insecurity here. And also another one, encouraging lying. So here found the child lying a lot. Why? To avoid criticism. They may also lie to create a false sense of value, mimicking behaviors they have seen from the parents. They saw the parents saying wrong things about them to others to show that their children are successful. by lying to others. So here the child learns that, okay, I can lie to give a good impression about myself. These are misbehaviors here from children because of the lack or there is a need to be valued, but there is a lack in this from the parents' side. The fourth and the last need, spiritual need. All of us were created with a need to connect with God. So research has found that children who have a strong and active spiritual life are 40% less likely to use or abuse substance. 40% less. 60% less likely to experience depression compared to other teenagers. Those who have a strong and active spiritual life. And even some studies found that differences in brain structure among those who are spiritual versus those who are not spiritual growing up. So what mistakes parents can do in that matter? Number one, only preaching. Okay. Preaching without action, simply hypocrisy here. Parents often preach without faith, but fail to practice what they preach to their children. This leads to confusion here. Example, they say we should not scream, and the parents himself or herself actually screaming at that point. So teaching we should respect church, for example. And the parents themselves are on the phone during the service, during liturgy. Or we should read the Bible and pray, while the parents themselves not doing any of this. Or we should take communion, but the parents themselves are skipping communion. Or smoking is bad, but one of them is vaping in front of the children. Or we should not lie, but the parents doing that. Here, again, shows hypocrisy in parenting. This disconnect between words and action can create spiritual hypocrisy, making faith to be empty and hypocritical, like rather than a genuine way to live. What other mistakes parents do in the spiritual need? Here, I call it the judging one. What is a judging one? Some parents, especially those who serve at church, they may struggle with something at church. Or a normal person, normal parents got offended because of someone's behavior at church, which is very common. We're all humans, we all have mistakes. Or maybe certain regulations at church, or even from the priests. So they make a big mistake here without feeling, without knowing. What they do, when they go home, they spend a lot of time judging, talking, criticizing, speaking negatively about the church or the servants or people at church in general in front of their children. Not paying attention that kids are listening. How that gonna impact? Gonna have a big impact. But let's say the third mistake parents can do when it comes to spiritual need. The first group of parents who are preaching without action. Second group who are judging. Third group who are neither. Some parents neither care about the church or make any effort to nurture their own spiritual life or the life of their children. Why? Because there are different priorities here. They care about material success, education, sports, wealth. They don't care about the spiritual life here. They rarely or never attend the church or do not even encourage their children to go to church. They don't pray or read the Bible or engage in any spiritual activities at home. They assume that spirituality is a personal choice. Okay, it's my kid's choice when they grow up, if they want to. Of course, some parents here, it's a problem here because there is a need for spirituality. So instead of focusing on that, the parents will focus on they eat good, they're successful at school, they excel in sports, they're fitting with their American friends outside church, and they ignore the spiritual part. They leave their children's spirituality vulnerable here, searching for meaning and places that can be away from God. Okay. So what kind of misbehavior that will lead to? What kind of misbehavior that will lead to? we'll find here that the children will grow up struggling with their faith, right? Especially those who are preaching only or judging or criticizing. You find that children growing up struggling with their faith. Because why? Because that destroys the image of God. The image of God, because the first, children learn about God primarily from their parents and from the church servants. So when parents or church leaders, people fail to reflect God, Christ's love, or it's damaged because things parents say, you'll find the image of God being distorted here in the eyes of the children. Okay? So you find here that the children stop going to church, stop believing in God, growing up, when they grow up. Why? Because they couldn't find that genuine faith or a good example from home, or heard distorted things about the church or people in the church. So everything became confusing for children here. Spiritual confusion. Okay. What will lead that? Seeking a role model outside the church, outside the Bible, outside Christianity, because children naturally seek a role model here to follow. So when parents and church figures fail to be positive examples, we'll find the children, their best role model are the athletes, celebrities, singers, influencers, social media personalities, those whom they copy and imitate in everything. And kids do not know. They can imitate everything, whatever they see, of the lifestyle of that person they copy. Whether the person is smoking, using drugs, fashion choices, immodest, the way they dressed, attitudes, language, and behavior, they just copy that because they couldn't find a good role model in the church or at home. These are the 4 needs for our children: the need for love, the need for safety, need to be valued, and spiritual needs. And we saw the mistakes that parents do, knowingly or unknowingly. Some parents do not know about this, that they can impact their children. And we saw the results, the outcome of this in our children. So now, how to help with this? How to do it the right way? How to help with the need for safety when it comes to our children and parenting? Number 1, create a safe haven from pressures and stresses. Children need a home environment that protects them from excessive stress and provides emotional security. And here the parents play a crucial role in shielding their children from unnecessary anxieties here, especially conflicts between the parents. If there is arguments that cannot be avoided, it should not happen in front of the children. If one spouse begins an argument and their kids are there, the other spouse should remind that spouse to wait and talk later on. It would be a good thing for all of them, for the kids not to watch this, and also for the parents to calm down and resolve the issue peacefully later on. So here we create that safe haven for our children. Second one, limit exposure to negative news or media. So as parents, we should monitor and filter the content our children are exposed to, especially things that are distressing, the news, inappropriate media, some certain violent video games they play. Be mindful how much time they spend on devices and social media, ensuring the content of what they watch is age appropriate here. Protect them from information that may cause fear or anxiety, or watching anything violent in their presence. Again, under need for safety, encourage open communication here. Create an atmosphere where children feel safe to express their thoughts and emotions. Listen actively without judgment. Set aside a daily time to talk with your child about something good happened, something bad happened in the day. Ask open-ended questions. What was the best part of your day today at school? Can you tell me about something interesting that happened at school or with friends? A question like this. Ask about their thoughts and opinions. What do you think about this topic? How do you feel about this specific event? How do you feel about that what happened 2 days ago? About their feelings. How do you feel about that? Is there anything that been making you feel happy or sad or excited lately? You can ask these questions, open-ended questions. Let them think, let them answer. Ask about their interests. What's your favorite thing to do? To play? Read the Bible? Tell me, what was your favorite thing? If you could choose anywhere in the world to visit, where would you go? Why? So you encourage open communication. Number 4, be merciful. What do I mean by this? Show mercy and compassion to your child. Not every single mistake requires punishment or consequence. Acknowledge there is a mistake. I'm not saying acknowledge there is a mistake. Explain why it was wrong. Say, I will let it go this time, but next time we need to be more careful. Otherwise, we will do that. So here, practice mercy, and not everything has to have immediate punishment. Make a child feel like they are in school or military or prison. No, it's okay. Show mercy. Show that you love them. Understand here when punishment is unnecessary. Remind children that they are not alone here for the need for safety. Always assure them that you are there for them. And if you're not around, remind them there are other people around. Teachers, there are police officers, there are trusted adults. Even if I'm not there, there are people there. Most importantly, remind them that God is always watching over them, providing comfort and guidance here and peace. They feel God is with me all the times. Even if my parents are not there, God is with me. That's a very important concept to instill in our children's mind and heart for the need for safety. The need for love. How to do that? Unconditional love at all times. At all times. Love should be expressed constantly, not just when a child meets expectation, because that builds a lot of confidence, security, and emotional well-being here. Say, I love you throughout the day, randomly. Do not be embarrassed to say that. Randomly. See your children say, I love you, honey. I love you. For no reason. Because, why? Because you're my child. I love you. Offer love not for what they do, but for who they are. Express affection through hugs, kisses. All day. It's okay. There are your kids. And ask your children, ask them, when do you feel that I loved you? Or I love you? When is the most time you feel I love you? When what happened? So you can understand their emotional needs here. Learn their love language. Learn it. Discover that. You know the 5 love languages? We talked about this between married couples. Also, they apply to kids too. The physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, gifts. Ask your children, when was the last time, when the most time you felt that you were loved by us, or I loved you, or I love you? And find out, that can tell you what their love language is. Avoid being a helicopter parent. Overprotecting can hinder their ability to make decisions and handle challenges. Teach them personal responsibility. Encourage them to own their choices and actions. Do not always shield them from mistakes. Let them learn there are unharmful mistakes. Let's say they didn't study for an exam. They failed because they didn't study. It's okay. Let them go through that. You kept telling them, you need to study, your homework, you need to do your assignments, you need to do that, you need to do this, but they never listen. Let them fail at one of the exams. It's okay. At a young age, It's okay to, those are non-harmful mistakes. They can learn from this. Next time they will learn. Help them to see their failures. It's okay. Teach them that failure is learning opportunity, not a disaster. We can learn from that. Empower them to make decisions. And make them learn choices have consequences. How about the need to be valued? Celebrate their achievements. Children thrive when their efforts are recognized and celebrated. Acknowledging their achievements, no matter how small, it will boost their confidence and motivation here. Create a tradition for that, to celebrate their achievements. Plan family celebration outings to celebrate that, like certain rituals for that, and praise continually. Continually praise things that are in them. Thank you for being kind. Thank you for helping me for this. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for being nice to your sister, to your brother. They need the encouragement. Always focus on the positives. Thank you for being helpful, for all of these things. Teach them to take responsibilities, like I mentioned here. If they didn't study and got bad grade, don't rush to email the teacher for excuses or extra chances. Just wait. Teach your kids. That's what happens when you don't prepare. Next time, we will need to study more. Let's plan for this. How to fix this mistake. Stuff like that. Do not be overprotecting here. Encourage accountability. Teach them to take responsibility. That's how to fulfill the need for them to be valued in a very wise, balanced way. The last one, spiritual needs. Lead by example. At home and outside. Children learn more from what they see than from what they hear. Parents who lead by example set the foundation for their child's spiritual and emotional growth here. Model humility, accountability. If you make a mistake, acknowledge it and offer an apology, sincere apology, whether to your spouse or to your child or anyone else in front of your children. Let your children watch this and witness this action so they learn to apologize is a sign of strength, not weakness. For example, if you speak harshly to your spouse in front of your child, take a moment later on and say, I was wrong to raise my voice, I'm sorry. And let the children be around. That's good. It's good. God allows us to make mistakes. So when our children watch us how to address mistakes, they can learn that they will make mistakes and that's how you should address it. If you misjudge a situation, admit it. I should have listened to you first before assuming. I apologize for that. Children who see their parents own their mistakes grow up understanding the importance of honesty, being responsible, and here more maturity. Establish a pattern for spiritual practices at home here. Make it daily prayer or weekly Bible study or daily reading the Bible. And be careful of what you listen to in the car. They listen to that too with you. So focus on more Christian things rather than secular music. Because they listen to it. They're always with you in the car. So show a good example even in the car when you think, it's my time now. Show excitement about going to church. Even if you have some resentment, if you have some problems, if you have anything, that's okay. You can discuss that with your spouse privately. Because there's no perfect place. There's no perfect church. Why? Because there are humans, and humans are imperfect. We understand that. We all make mistakes. But be wise not to, your spouse may understand that, and it will still continue going to church, but your children may not understand that. And if you treat the children as the church as a burden, your children will feel it the same way. If you feel going to church as a burden, your children will feel it. So show joy, show excitement. I'm excited to go to church tomorrow for liturgy. I love it when I take communion. I'm gonna confess next week. those things, kids imitate those things. They learn from these things. So here, children mirror what they observe at home. Be the example you want them to follow. It's very important here. But remember here at the end, as parents, we all make mistakes. None of us is perfect. And the challenges of raising children can sometimes feel overwhelming. Let's understand. But take heart, God's grace is greater than our shortcomings. What truly matters is our willingness to learn and to grow and to love our children with humility and sincerity. Parenting is a journey, not a single moment of success or failure. When we seek wisdom from God, when we lean on His strength and cultivate patience, and He equips us to raise our children in love, in truth, and wisdom. Every day is a new opportunity to guide them with gentleness, and us too, to model their faith and to show them what it means to trust in Christ. So be encouraged. Your love, your prayer, and your presence in the life of your children matters more than any mistakes. Keep pressing forward with faith and know that God is with you and with all of us, shaping both us and our children for His purpose. And glory be to God